It's starting to wind down, but the Eberron content still continues, as this time we talk about the Friends and Foes chapter, aka all the new monsters and NPCs contained in Eberron Rising from the Last War. If you're curious what is contained within there and what new monsters there are, stay tuned. So here we are on D&D Beyond. There's not too many different monsters, and it does seem, I think for the first time ever in a recent one of these we've done, the monsters are entirely unique to this. In the past, we've usually seen reprints of monsters that were in different adventures. This looks to be entirely unique. I will say it doesn't look like the pronunciation guides are done for these, so you're going to have to listen to my awful butchering pronunciations of a lot of these, because there's some interesting ones. And you can see here's a little bit of the stat blocks by creatures. Breakdown seems to be a bunch of constructs, right, with Warforged aberrations and then humanoids. There's a little bit here about the Daleker, which are basically the aberrations that exist in Eberron. And they have a large, I'm not going to go through this because there is no specific stat blocks tied to any of these creatures. It just has a little bit about how they're evil, how they're sort of created, where they land in the world, and how people will perceive them differently, possibly. And then give you some options. Is a very, at least in my mind, it comes across very Cthulhuan, right? Like everybody's going to see these kind of horrors and evils manifested in different ways. And there are some modifications if you want to try to make them truly otherworldly. And there's a little bit about the different creatures, right? Beholders, doppelgangers being corrupted changelings, and mind flayers, and so on. But we're going to move into the first official stat block, which is Belashira, who is the Lord of Eyes, also known to its cultists as the All-Seer or the Glorious Eye. So she is basically one of the high-level kind of aberration queen. She could appear in several different perspectives. She's tied to sight, her madness, images that can't be unseen, horrific hallucinations. She can force victims to question whether they perceive as real in the first place. And she has followers all across Corvair. Cults are typically driven by mad visions. And so on. But let's take a look at her stat block here. And she is a legendary creature, right? So CR 22, 304 hit points, 19 AC. She has a fly speed and a land speed. Proficiencies in intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Resistances to poison and psychic damage. Immunity to blind, charmed, exhausted, frightened, poisoned, prone. True sight out to 120 feet and a passive perception of 23. So good luck sneaking up on her. Telepathy out to 120 feet. If you try to read her mind, you must make a DC 22 intelligence saving throw or be stunned for a minute. She can see through the eyes of all creatures within 120 feet. It can use its eye ray through any creature within 120 feet as though it was in the creature's space, which is terrifying. 3 legendary resistance. This is advantage on magical saving throws. Regains 20 hit points at the start of her turn. She takes radiant damage. This trait does not start. She only dies if it starts a turn. I keep saying she because the image is of a woman, but it dies if it starts a turn with 0 hit points. It doesn't regen. It can teleport 30 feet as a bonus action, and then makes 2 attacks with its claws and uses its eye ray once. Claws are plus 14 to hit, 3d6 plus 7 slashing, and the eye rays, we have 4 of them, so not as many as a beholder, but the Psyche Reconstruction Ray is a DT 22 wisdom save or 90-10 psychic damage. If it reduces a target to 0 hit points, it transforms into a spectator under its control, and it acts immediately after them. It can only be transformed back by means short of a wish spell. Domination Ray is a DC 22 wisdom save or be charmed for a minute. Belashira can issue telepathic commands to the charmed creature, which they must obey, so it's basically like a suggestion almost. Mind Weakening, DC 22 intelligence save or take 8d8 psychic damage, and be unable to cast spells or activate magic items for a minute. And the Blinding Ray is each creature within 10 feet must succeed on a DC 22 con save or take 3d12 radiant damage and be blinded for a minute. Until the blindness ends, Belashira can see through the blinded creature's eyes. The blinded creature can repeat the saving throw, and the legendary actions are 1 claw attack, 2 for Implant Fear, which is targets a creature within 60 feet. Must make a DC 22 wisdom save or take 4d10 psychic damage and immediately use its reaction, if available, to move as far as its speed allows away from Belashira. And Rend Reality is 3. Each creature within 10 feet must make a DC 22 wisdom save or take 3d2 force damage and gain a level of exhaustion. So clearly not something you want to mess with. And then on top of that, we have legendary actions here. If encountered in its lair, it's a CR 23, up from 22. Lair actions, an eye opens on a... These are very similar to Beholder lair actions, right? One random eye ray shoots from that. Belshear creates a wave of madness. Each creature in the lair must make a DC 22 wisdom save or be charmed for 1 minute. While charmed, they must use their action at the start of their turn, moving to make a melee attack against another creature of Belshear's choice. No creatures within each, they can act normally. Make the save throw at the end of their turn. And then traps into the eyesight of creatures in its lair. Each creature of Belshear's choice must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failure, the affected creature perceives objects and creatures a short distance from their actual locations, imposing disadvantage on the creature's attack rolls against those targets. An affected creature can repeat the saving throw and is immune for 24 hours. And regional effects are: creatures within 1 mile of the passage sometimes feel as if they're being watched. Beasts that live within 5 miles undergo magical transformations, growing eyes or eye stalks that the Belshear can see through. And a humanoid who spends at least 1 hour within 1 mile of the passage must make a DC 21 wisdom saving throw or descend into a type of madness from her specific madness table below. And her madness table is a D6. I constantly see shapes moving in the shadows. I perceive certain types of people, vocations, or entire societies as hideous monsters. Someone is watching everything I do. When I close my eyes, I see my past misdeeds. I don't trust my sight. I have no idea what's real and what's a hallucination. And sometimes there's something watches the world through my eyes. To thwart them, I keep my eyes closed or covered. Next up is Dern. I was going to pronounce it. Is follows to its followers as the Corrupter, the Stealer of Thoughts, the Slithering Lord, and the Foul Labyrinth. Is basically Mind Flayer from what I can tell. Mind Flayer's Eberron as the Overmind. It serves as a cornerstone of all the Corruptor is the most adept at twisting minds and bodies it creates. I think, does this one have a layer 2, right? So CR 24, so even stronger. 21 AC, 325 hit points. Again, another 40-foot fly speed. Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma saves. Kind of the same resistances. Poison, Psychic, and immunities to Blinded, Charm, Exhausted, Frightened, Poison, Prone. Still another high 23 Passive Perception, 120-foot True Sight. We're going to have Alien Mind again. So that's the kind of don't try to read their mind. 3 legendary resistances, magic resistance, the same 20 regen hit points, and the same teleportation feature. The multi-attack is 1 Tentacle Whip and uses its corruption once. Can replace its Tentacle Whip attack with Extract Brain if a target creature is grappled. So Tentacle Whip is a plus 15 to hit, 10-foot reach, 3d10 plus 8 slashing damage. If they're medium or smaller, they're grappled with a DC 23 escape check. Pulled in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of Darren and must make a intelligence saving throw of a DC 23 or be stunned until the grapple ends. Darren can't use the same Tentacle Whip on a turn. Darren has 2 Tentacle Whips. Corruption. The Corruption is 1 creature within 60 feet must make a DC 23 con save or take 4d6 plus 8 necrotic damage and be corrupted for 1 minute. A corrupted creature flesh twists in alien ways. The creature has disadvantage on attack rolls. Its speed is cut in half. If it tries to cast a spell, it must make an intelligence check of 15. On a failure, it's wasted. The corrupted creature can repeat the saving throw at the end. And then we have the lovely Extract Brain. 1 incapacitated creature grappled by Darren takes 10d10 piercing damage. If it reduces the target to 0 hit points, it kills the target by extracting and devouring its brain. Tentacle Whip is 1 legendary action. The Spawn Aberration, which would be an Intellect Devourer, is 2 actions within 5 feet. And Mind Blast, your typical Mind Flayer Assault, is 3 actions, which is a 60-foot cone. DC 23 Intelligence save or take 5d8 plus 8 psychic damage and be stunned for 1 minute. Lair actions we have here. Uses its Corruption action. 30-foot square on the ground within 120 feet sprouts tentacles under initiative count 20 on the next round. Any creature that starts its turn in the area must succeed on a DC 23 strength save or be restrained. And then it's a DC 23 athletics check or dexterity check to break that. In the future, each creature of Darren's choice it can see within 120 feet must make a wisdom saving throw of DC 23 or take 4d12 psychic damage. Unless the target has immunity to psychic damage, its intelligence score is reduced by 1d4 each time it fails a saving throw. It dies if its intelligence reaches 0. Resets on a short or long rest. That's pretty crazy. The reduction resets on a short or long rest, rather. And the regional effects are plants and animals raised within 2 miles of the passage have twisted aberrant forms. Creatures within 1 mile of the passage frequently feel as if something is crawling under their skin. And if a humanoid spends at least 1 hour within the passage, they must make a DC 22 Wisdom save or gain a type of madness from a specific set of madness found here, which is another D6. There's an illithid parasite living in my brain. I feel myself evolving into an aberration. Aberrations are the only natural things. A part of me has become a conscious entity. My opponents must bow down to a mind flayer. During the mind flayer, simply want to unite all sentient creatures in a collective consciousness, and I receive messages from the group mind. Next, we have 2 dinosaurs. The Talenta Plains of Eberron are kind of dinosaur-ridden. So, or not ridden, but they have a lot of dinosaurs. So we have the Clawfoot, which is basically like a type of raptor. They were known, I think, in previous editions as the Clawfoot Raptor, but here it's just the Clawfoot. CR1, it is a beast, so that is a good thing for all of you druids out there. It has Pack Tactics and Pounce, so that's good. DC 11 on the Pounce, though. Makes 2 attacks, 1 claw and 1 bite. The bite is a D8 plus 3. And a claw is a D8 plus 3, so they're the same. Plus 5 to hit, 1's piercing, 1's slashing. And the Fastieth, which looks some sort of like Gallimimus-y type Pachycephalosaurus style creature, is just fast. It has a 50-foot movement speed. It can take the dodge action as a bonus action on a recharge 5/6, and it has a bite attack, 1d8 plus 4 piercing damage, and it has, again, as a challenge rating, 1/4. So a Dalgaunt are emaciated goblins with disease-hued flesh, and they're pretty nasty looking. Here's a nice picture of one. Challenge rating 3, they are another aberration. 33 hit points, 16 AC. Immune to the blinded condition, have blind sight out to 120 feet. They have evasion. And unarmored defense, they have their wisdom, which is incorporated here in the 16. 2 tentacle attacks and 2 unarmed strikes. Up to 2 tentacle attacks can be replaced with vitality drain. Tentacles are plus 6 to hit, 15-foot reach, d6 plus 4 bludgeoning, and they're grappled if they're large or smaller. You can't use the same tentacles to grapple another target. It only has 2. Its unarmed strikes do a d4 plus 4, but the vitality drain is 1 creature grappled by a tentacle must make a con save. On a failed save, it takes 2d8 necrotic damage, and it regains a number of hit points equal to half the damage taken. We have the Dolgrim, which are another set of aberrations, a sort of small, warped goblin creature again. 2 goblins crushed into 1. Again, challenge rating half here, nothing too crazy. AC 15, hit points are 13. Dark vision up to 60 feet. Because it's got dual consciousness, this is something we see, I think, in Ettins as advantage on saving throws against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, and knocked unconscious. It makes 3 attacks. Its Morningstar is a d8 plus 2 with a plus 4 to hit. Spears plus 4 to hit, and either a d6 plus 2 or a d8 plus 2 if it's wielding it two-handed. And a hand crossbow for a d6 plus 2, again with the plus 4 to hit on both of those. We now have a Dusk Hag, so a brand new type of hag. Gnarled crones with shriveled orange skin, tangled gray hair, and eyes that burn like hot coals. These are Fey hags, so we haven't transitioned into the fiends like a night hag. Challenge rating 6, so it's a nice kind of middle ground hag. 82 hit points, 17 AC. Immune to blind, charmed, frightened, blindsight out to 60 feet. Its innate spellcasting is a DC 15. We have detect magic and disguise self at will. Dream and hypnotic pattern and sleep for 9d8 3 times a day. Legend, lore, and scrying once per day. Magic resistance, so advantage on saving throws. And it can make 2 nightmare touch attacks. Its claw attack, which is plus 5 to hit, does a d6 plus 2, but you only get 1 of those. So 2 nightmare touch are plus 7 to hit, 46 plus 4 psychic damage. If the target is unconscious, it takes an extra 3d6 psychic damage and is cursed until the hag dies or removes its curse. The cursed creature's hit point maximum decreases by a d10 whenever it finishes a long rest. And reaction is Dream Eater, which reminds me of Pokemon. When an unconscious creature the hag can see within 30 feet of her regains consciousness, the hag can force the creature to make a DC 15 wisdom saving throw. Unless the save succeeds, the creature takes 2d10 psychic damage and the hag regains hit points equal to the amount of damage taken. So nothing too crazy. There are some Dusk Hag prophecies here that you can look through. But it has a good purpose of like a dreamy, sneaky at nighttime kind of hag here. It's got dream and hypnotic pattern, sort of illusory kind of magic, and the nightmare touch and dream meter work well together. We have homunculi, which again we can create as a wizard or as a artificer. So we have the expeditious messenger homunculi, which is nothing crazy. Challenge rating 8, 13 AC, 7 hit points, immunity to poison. As flyby and telepathic bond, if it's on the same plane of existence as its master, they can communicate telepathically. And it just has a simple bite of plus 5 to hit and a d4 plus 3 damage. And we have an Iron Defender, which looks, based on how it's set up, this seems to be a homunculi, but this I don't feel it really fits there. It's a medium construct. This again reminds me again of the Artificer in the previous iteration. It was called an Iron Defender. Now it's a Steel Defender for the Battlesmith. Advantage on Wisdom saving throws. Again, that telepathic bond, and its bite is a +5 d6 +3 piercing damage. If the target's hit, it's grappled. Must succeed on a DC 13 saving throw, or we take an extra 1d6 piercing damage and be grappled. We have the Inspired here, which I believe are Quori spirits, but I'll just double check that. Noble families are said to be bound to celestial spirits. Most of the people of the 5 nations have heard of the Inspired Lords of Raedra, never realizing the Inspired are spread throughout Corvair as well. Beggars and generals, beggars and merchants might all be secret servants of the Dreaming Dark. Such Inspired have to willingly accept Quori possession. The Dreaming Dark. Okay, so there you go. And here's some Quori vessel variants. And Inspired are vessels for Quori spirits. They may also gain the Inspire's knowledge. So if you have Hashalak, a suggestion 3 times per day with a DC 13. Halarak, can't be surprised, and Arcane Eye 3 times per day. And Tuscora, fear once per day, DC 13. So here we have an Inspired here. Challenge rating 2, just a human with a specific feature here. 40 hit points, 12 AC, 15 with mage armor. Resistance to psychic, immune to charmed and frightened. Advantage on wisdom saving throws. Innate spell casting here. We have what do we have? Mage Hand and Vicious Mockery at will. Once per day, charm person, dissonant whispers, hex, hold person, and mage armor. Multi-attack, 2 Cry Steel dagger attacks, and can replace 1 with Vicious Mockery. The dagger is +4 to hit, a d4 +2 piercing damage, +3d6 force damage, and then it has the Vicious Mockery cantrip for 1d4 damage with a DC 13 wisdom saving throw. We have a Carnathi Undead Soldier, which are, more badass undead soldiers than your average skeleton. In my mind, if I recall, these were one of the things the Bone Knights could summon way back in the day. But Carnathi are not uncommon to use undead. So here we have our challenge rating 3 Undead. It looks to be a skeleton here, but wearing half plate. Has cold and poison resistance, immune to charm, fright, and poison. Does not have vulnerability to bludgeoning damage. Does get pack tactics, which is nice, and undead fortitude. So if it goes to 0, it can make a saving throw to try to drop to 1. Makes 3 attacks with one of its weapons. Longbow is a d8 +3 slashing, or a d8 10 if it's two-handed. And a longbow is a d8 +2 piercing, and it can parry, adding 3 to its AC on 1 melee attack that would hit as a reaction. We have Lady Illmarrow, is a legend, an ancient lich said to dwell in a castle of bone and ice in the coldest regions of the Lazar. Wow, that's hard to say. Principalities. I'm having a hard time with these ones. But we're going to have another high-level boss-type character here, which is another undead. Here we can see she's kind of a lich queen with wings, though. Fly speed of 40 feet. Challenge rating 22, 199 hit points, 19 AC. Con, intelligence, wisdom saves, resistance to cold and lightning, and then immunity to necrotic, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic attacks, and then immune to blinded, charmed, deafened, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, stunned. Another 22 perception, very high, and 120-foot dark vision. 3 legendary resistances, magic resistance, rejuvenation. When her body drops to dust, when she drops to 0 hit points, and her equipment is left behind, she gains a new body after 1d10 days, regaining all her hit points and becoming active again. The new body appears within 200 miles of the location at which she was destroyed. She's a 20th level spellcaster with a 23 spell save DC and a +15 to hit. Has the following spells: Chill Touch, Firebolt, Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, Ray of Frost, Magic Missile, Shield, Sleep, Blur, Detect Thoughts, Mirror Image, Animate Dead, Counterspell, Fireball, Fly, Lightning Bolt, Light, Confusion, Polymorph, Cloud Kill, Cone of Hold, Hold Monster, Scrying, Chain Lightning, Circle of Death, Create Undead, Finger of Death, Force Cage, Prismatic Spray, Incendiary Cloud, Maze, Power Word, Kill, and Time Stop. Her Chill Touch is here, just 48. Paralyzing Claw, +10 to hit. 3d6 slashing plus 3d6 cold. No target's make a DC 20 con save or be paralyzed. Poison Breath is a 30-foot cone. DC 20 con save or take 10d6 poison damage or be poisoned for 1 minute. While poisoned in this way, you can't regain hit points. And any humanoid reduced to 0 damage by this Poison Breath rises as a zombie under her control. Her legendary actions are Cantrip as 1, Paralyzing Claw as 1. Frightening Presence as 2, which is each creature up to 3 creatures within 30 feet must make a DC 20 Wisdom save or be frightened. And then to use our Poison Breath is 3 actions. Then we have the idea of living spells, which I thought was a pretty cool concept. It's just basically a spell that has taken life. Like a normal spell effect, except the magic energy endures indefinitely. So they have some stuff here for customizing a living spell. And then they have some how to make changes to the stat block. But we have Living Burning Hands here, which you can see the spell has challenge rating 1. It has some flight, some hit points, and AC. Advantage on saving throws. It can squeeze through space. Has its Magical Strike, which is a d6 plus 3 fire damage. And then it can use Spell Mimicry on a recharge 5/6, which is just basically activates the spell. So a 15-foot cone, 3d6 fire damage, and a DC 13 save. Here's Living Lightning Bolt. Again, similar. Has some damage resistances and condition immunities. Again, Magical Strike here is plus 7 to hit, 10-foot reach, 5d6 plus 4 lightning damage. This one's large size. Or Mimicry, it does a Lightning Bolt, DC 15 or 86 damage. And here we have Living Cloud Kill, challenge rating 7, 73 hit points, 15 AC. Again, resistances to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, immunity to poison. You can see they're sort of immune to whatever their base damage type is. Multi-attack, you can make 2 Magical Strike attacks, which are 10-foot reach, plus 8 to hit, do 5d6 plus 5 poison damage, or it can replicate a Cloud Kill spell here as well on a recharge 5/6. Alright, so we have the Lord of Blades, who's a legendary Warforged. Broken all ties with his former master, and he's again another boss-style creature here. Challenge rating 18, 195 hit points, 19 AC, has Strength, Con, Intelligence, and Wisdom saving throw proficiency. Resistance to necrotic and poison, immunity to charm, exhausted, and frightened. Any critical hit becomes a normal hit, as he does have adamantine plating. His armor is bladed, so if you grapple him, you take 3d8 slashing damage. A creature takes 3d8 slashing damage if it starts its turn grappling the Lord of Blades as well. Charge, if it moves at least 10 feet in a straight line and hits with one of its adamantine blades, they take an extra 2d10 damage and have to make a DC 19 strength saving throw, or be pushed 10 feet away and knocked prone. Does also have spells as a 20th level spellcaster with a DC 18 and plus 10 to hit. Firebolt, Mage Hand, Mending, Prestidigitation, Expeditious Retreat, Sanctuary, Thunderwave, Blur, Heat Metal, Scorching Ray, See Invisibility, Dispel Magic, Fly, Haste, Freedom of Movement, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound, Animate Objects, Wall of Force are the only spells. It says it's a 20th level spellcaster, but I guess it's a half caster because it only goes up to 5th level. Advantage on saving throws against poison, is immune to disease, magic can't put him to sleep. Makes 3 attacks, 2 with his adamantine 6 blades and 1 with his bladed wings. They are 10-foot reach on the Swix blade, plus 11 to hit, 3d10 plus 5 slashing, plus 2d6 force. The wings have a range out to 2060, so they can kind of be shot at range. 1d6 plus 5 slashing, and then there's just a firebolt cantrip here, just 4d10 plus 10 to hit. Legendary actions, attack for 1, cantrip for 1, cast a spell of 2nd level or lower for 2. And Blade Dash is 3. It moves up to its movement speed without provoking attacks of opportunity. When then makes 1 attack with his adamantine 6 blade, he can make 1 bladed wing attack against the creature he moves past. Then we have Mordekash, which are sort of Rakshasas here. Rakshasa named Mordekash rose up through the ranks to become one of the greatest commanders in the Dragon Slaying Specialist. For this, here in the nickname Shadow Sword. So we can see him here, challenge rating 15. So 170 hit points, 18 AC, Strength, Con, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. Vulnerability from piercing weapons wielded by good creatures, so similar to a Rakshasa. And resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage from attacks made by silver weapons. Innate spellcasting ability, DC 18 plus 10 to hit. We have Chromatic Orb, Detect Thoughts, and Disguise Self at will. And then once per day, Banishing Smite, Destructive Wave, Fly, Mass Suggestion, Staggering Smite, and Suggestion and True Seeing. As a Rakshasa, spells of 6th level or lower, he can just ignore them if he wants to. Has advantage on saving throws against everything else. Makes 3 greatsword attacks with multi-attack. Those do 2d6 plus 5 slashing, plus 1d10 force. We have this Chromatic Orb spell. Legendary actions are makes 1 attack or cast Chromatic Orb. 1 is Mordekash gains resistance to 1 damage type, Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, Poison, or Thunder. And then Warlord's Command is 2 actions, targets up to 2 allies within 30 feet. If they can see and hear him, they make 1 weapon attack and as a reaction and gain advantage on the attack roll. It says legendary actions. I don't see them listed here. So that's a typo. Oh, wait. Oh, here we go. Sorry. I was looking for legendary resistance. 3 legendary actions. My bad. We have overlords here. So we have Rakshasa is the incarnation of impulses that drive many mortals to battle. Fear, greed, hatred. These are all seeds the rage of war sows. So here we have this sort of fiendish creature here. Rakshasa is how I'm going to pronounce it. Challenge rating 28. Again, we got a lot of high-level monsters, as I said. 478 hit points, 23 natural armor, 25 versus range attacks. Strength, con, wisdom, charisma saving throw, resistance to cold, fire, lightning, immunity to poison, and bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic attacks. Immune to charm, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, poison, stunned. Rolls a crit on a 19 or 20 and rolls 3 times the dice instead of 2. An 8 spell casting of a DC 24. Detect thoughts, dispel magic, spirit guardians at will. Banishing smite, blinding smite, staggering smite once per day. 3 legendary resistances, magic resistance, and a magical aura of weapons surrounds within a 10-foot radius. Any creature that starts its turn within 10 feet takes 46 force damage base. 4 weapon attacks is its multi-attack. Its spawned melee weapon is plus 17 to hit, 10-foot reach, 3d12 plus 9 force damage. Its range weapon is plus 12 to hit and 3d8 plus 4 force damage. It can polymorph into a humanoid beast or giant that has a challenge rating no higher than its own, or back into its true form. On its new form, it retains its alignment, hit points, and hit dice, ability to speak, proficiencies, legendary resistance, intelligence, wisdom, charisma scores, as well as this action. Statistics and capabilities are otherwise replaced by the new form. Legendary actions are attack for 1, end magic, which is casting dispel magic for 2, or provoke rage. Each creature within 60 feet must make a DC 24 wisdom saving throw or use the reaction to make a melee attack against one random creature within reach. Then we have Sulkatesh, the Keeper of Secrets, another high-level creature, 28. Challenge rating, 475 hit points, 22 AC. Con, Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma, Saving Throw. Seems like a lot of this is the same. Cold, Fire, Lightning. Poison, Bludgeoning, Piercing, Slashing, Immunity. Immunity to Charm, Exhausted, Frightened, Paralyzed, Petrified, Poison. Our innate spellcasting for DC 26 plus 18 to hit or at will. Counterspell, Detect Magic, Detect Thoughts, Dispel Magic, Eye Bite, Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Shield, 3 times per day, Chain Lightning, Create Undead, Dream, Hold Monster, Mass Suggestion, Scrying, and once per day, Foresight, Gate, Power Word, Kill, Teleport. That's 3, or at least 2 9th level spells that are once per day. 3 legendary resistance, magic resistance, and advantage on constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. Makes 4 arcane blasts as a multi-attack, which are plus 18 to hit, 1d10 plus 10 force damage to a range of 120 feet. Its staff is plus 12 to hit, 5d12 plus 4 force damage. We have Arcane Cataclysm, once a long rest. Conjures an orb of magical energy which plummets into the ground. 3 different points you can see within 1 mile. Each creature in a 40-foot radius centered on each sphere must make a DC 26 dex save or take 11d12 force damage. Creature in an area of more than 1 arcane burst is only affected by it once. The area of the arcane burst then becomes an anti-magic field for 1 hour. We can polymorph and it retains everything into anything challenge rating 28 or under. The legendary actions are attack, 2 for consume magic, which targets a creature within 120 feet concentrating on a spell. Target must make a DC 26 Wisdom or Constitution save, or the spell is broken, and Sulkatesh gains 5 temporary hit points per level of that spell. And then Maddening Secrets is 3 actions. Choose a creature within 60 feet. They must make a DC 26 Wisdom save, or expend one of their spell slots of 3rd level or lower, and deal 4d12 force damage to each creature within 30 feet of it. A creature that fails a saving throw but can't expend a spell is stunned until the end of its next turn. Alright, well, we're already into the Qs. So we have a couple different Quori spirits here. We have the Hashalak Quori, which is a challenge rating 9. It's another Aberration. 99 hit points, 17 AC, Wisdom and Charisma save, resistance to Psychic, and immune to Charmed and Frightened conditions. Following spells at a DC 16. Charm Person, Detect Thoughts, Disguise... Charm Person at will. 3 times per day, Detect Thoughts, Disguise Self-Suggestion. Once per day, Dominate Person in Dream. As a multi-attack, you can use Mind Thrust twice. Its Idyllic Touch is plus 8 to hit, does d10 plus 4 force damage. And they must make a Wisdom saving throw of DC 16 or fall prone in a fit of laughter. The Mind Thrust is The target within 60 feet must make a DC 16 Wisdom save or take 48 psychic damage on a failed save or half as much on a success. You can do that twice as an action. Possession is a recharge on a 6. One humanoid it can see within 5 feet must make a DC 16 Charisma save or be possessed. It looks like this is very similar to a ghost's possession. Can't be targeted by an attack, spell, or effect. Immune to being charmed and frightened. Possession lasts until the body drops to 0 hit points, or it ends as a bonus action, or is forced out by an effect like Dispel Evil and Good. Empathic feedback is its reaction. When it takes damage from a creature within 60 feet, they can force that creature to make a DC 16 Intelligence save or take 2d10 psychic damage. We have a Calorak Quori here. Another Aberration, challenge rating 19. 161 hit points, 18 AC, Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma save. Resistance to cold, necrotic, poison, psychic, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic, and immune to blinded, charmed, exhausted, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, prone, restrained. 120 feet of true sight. Can't be surprised. It can move through creatures and objects if they were difficult terrain. Arcane Eye at will with a DC 21, and then 3 times per day Clairvoyance, Confusion, Dream, and Eyebite. Got magic resistance. It makes 2 soul binding attacks. Alternatively, it can make 4 attacks with Arcane Blast. Arcane Blast is plus 13 to hit, range 120 feet, a d10 plus 7 damage. Soul binding is plus 13 to hit, 4d10 plus 7 necrotic damage, and a creature reduced to 0 hit points dies and has its soul imprisoned in one of the Quori's eyes. A wish spell can return them. Mind Seed once per day. It touches one humanoid, which make a DC 21 Intelligence save or be cursed. Curse lasts until remove curse or greater restoration spell. Cursed target suffers 1 level of exhaustion every 24 hours, and a finishing long rest doesn't reduce it. If the target reaches exhaustion level 6, it doesn't die, and instead becomes a thrall under the Quori's control. As exhaustion is removed, only a wish can free them. Swarm of Eyes. It creates a small swarm of spectral eyes, which is a recharge of 6 within 30 feet, centered on a point. Each creature in that area must make a DC 21 Wisdom save. On a fail, they take 10d8 psychic damage and are blinded for a minute. Success, they take half damage and aren't blinded. And then Possession, again, similar to what we talked about before, DC 21 Charisma save or be possessed. And then our last Quori spirit here is the Tuscora Quori, which is only challenge rating 7 and looks gross. 68 hit points, 16 AC, Wisdom and Charisma saves, resistance to Psychic, immune to Charmed and Frightened. At will can cast Charm Person or Fear once per day with a DC 14 save. 3 attacks, 1 with Pincer, 1 with Claws, and 1 with Stinger. Pincer is plus 6 D8 plus 3 piercing, bludgeoning, and is grappled. Gets larger, smaller. Claws are plus 6, 4d4 plus 3 slashing. And the Stinger is plus 6 to hit, 1d10 plus 3 piercing plus 3d10 psychic. And the target must make a DC 14 Wisdom save or be frightened for a minute. And it has Possession like the other Quori spirits have, but only a DC 14. Next up, we have a Radiant Idol, which is an angel banished from a celestial realm. We can kind of see it's like an Empyrean here with its wings cut off. A lawful evil creature. Challenge rating 11, 142 hit points, 18 AC, Wisdom and Charisma saving throw proficiencies, resistance to radiant, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magic, and immunity to Charmed, Exhausted, and Frightened. Has Dark Vision out to 120 feet. Telepathy as well. Aura of False Divinity. A creature that starts a turn within 30 feet must make a DC 17 Wisdom save, provided the Radiant Idol is incapacitated. On a failed save, it's charmed by the Radiant Idol. Creature charmed in this way must repeat its saving throw at the end of each of its turn. On a success, it's immune for 24 hours. At will, Charm Person, Cure Wounds, Disguise Self, and Thaumaturgy at a DC 17. And then once per day, each Commune, Dominate Person, Insect, Plague, Mass Suggestion, and Raise Dead. It has magic resistance, and its actions are it makes 2 melee attacks. Its flails are 1 plus 10 to hit, a d8 plus 6 bludgeoning, plus 48 radiant, or radiant strike once per day. Chooses an area on the ground within 60 feet. A 30-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder of bright light appears. Each creature in that cylinder, when it appears, must make a DC 17 con save or take 8d8 radiant damage or half on a success. We have a new Rakshasa, which is the Zakya Rakshasa. Bloodthirsty Foot Soldiers. Challenge rating 5, so significantly less than your other Rakshasas. 59 hit points, 18 AC, Vulnerability still from piercing weapons wielded by good characters. Resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic. Has detect thoughts and disguise self at will and shield once per day. The saves for those where applicable is DC 11. This one has limited magic immunity, but it's only spells of first level or lower. Magic weapons. The weapons are considered magical, and martial prowess once per turn. When it hits a creature with a weapon attack, that creature takes an extra 2d10 damage of the weapon's type and must succeed a DC 15 strength save. On a failure, the Rakshasa can push the creature 10 feet away and knock it prone. Multi-attack makes 3 weapon attacks. Alternatively, it can make 2 ranged attacks with javelins. Its longsword is +7 to hit, a d8 plus 4 slashing, or a d10 plus 4 slashing if you wield it with 2 hands. And the javelins are +7 to hit and a d6 plus 4 piercing. Now we have the Undying. So we're talking about some undead creatures here. We only have a couple. We have the Undying Counselor. So a guide and to protect the people of Aranel. So this is a challenge rating 10. 104 hit points, 17 AC, Con, Intelligence, Wisdom saving throws, vulnerability to necrotic damage, immune to poison and radiant, and immune to charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned. Aura of Radiance, it magically says bright light in 15-foot radius and dim for another 15. Counselor can extinguish or restore it as a bonus action. If the bright light overlaps with an area of darkness, it dispels it. Magic resistance is a innate spellcasting. +17 is the spell save DC, +9 to hit with spell attacks. Guidance, Mending, Sacred Flame, Spare the Dying. Thaumaturgy, Bless, Command, Create or Destroy Water. Augury, Calm Emotions, Hold Person. Daylight, Dispel Magic, Spirit Guardians. Banishment, Divination, Guardian of Faith. Dispel Evil and Good, Flame Strike, and Scrying. Forbiddance and Planar Ally. And then lastly, Plane Shift at 7th level. It makes 2 Radiant Touch attacks for its multi-attack, which are +9 to hit, 3d6 plus 5 Radiant. Healing Touch is 3d8 plus 5 hit points and freed from a curse. And then it just has the stats for its Flame Strike spell. It does have 2 legendary actions, 1 to do Radiant Touch and 2 to do Shimmering Aura. Until the spell ends on the counselor's next turn. Until the end of the counselor's next turn, it sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim for another 30. Any creature that stands its turn in the bright light must make a DC 17 con save or be blinded. Then we have our Undying Soldier, which is just a challenge rating 2 undead creature. Vulnerability to necrotic, 26 hit points, 17 AC. Resistance to radiant, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic. Immune to poison, exhausted in poison condition. It sheds light, it can extinguish or not, 10-foot radius. Has advantage on saving throws against being turned, and makes 2 spear attacks for +5. A d6 plus 3 piercing, or a d8 plus 3 piercing, and then 2d8 radiant on top of that. Next up, we have Valenar animals, which are really cool. Which are basically legendary sort of fey animal versions of existing creatures. Each Valenar can be customized with an ancestral gift, supernatural trait gained by its ancestral spirit. Choose a trait or roll on the table below, and you can see things like it can tell if creatures can lie, or it can take the dodge action as a bonus action. We have a couple examples here. We have a Valenar Hawk, challenge rating an 8. Looks pretty much like a Hawk, 10 AC. 10 HP, 14 AC. It has this bonding feature, though. It can bond with a creature. The bond lasts until the hawk bonds with a different creature or not, and they can communicate telepathically, so it's like a pseudo-familiar. Advantage on perception checks, and the talons do a d4 plus 4 slashing. We have the Valenar Hound. We're going to see a lot of similarities here, right? Challenge rating a half, 1914 has the bonding feature, keen hearing and smell, and a bite for a d6 plus 3 piercing damage. And if it makes fails a strength saving throw, it's knocked prone. A Valenar Steed, which is the prettiest one, challenge rating a half. 22 hit points, 13 AC, has the bonding feature as well. And then hooves do 2d6 plus 3 damage. Next, we have some Warforged here. We have a couple. We have the Warforged Colossus, which is going to be your big, massive here, your gargantuan creature. Challenge rating 25, 410 hit points, 23 AC. Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma saves, immunity to necrotic, poison, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magic. This one also has True Sight. Immutable form, like all golems and constructs. Resistance 3 times a day. Magic resistance does double damage to siege. Any creature outside the Colossus that starts its turn within 30 feet must make a DC 26 Wisdom save or be frightened. Makes 2 attacks, 1 with its Slam and 2 with its Eldritch Turrets, and then uses Stomp. Slam is 20-foot reach, plus 18 to hit, 3d12 plus 10 bludgeoning damage. and pushes the target 20 feet away. The Eldritch Turret is plus 18 to hit with a range of 300, does 48 force damage. The creature's a target, it's knocked prone. And then the Stomp. Stomps one of its feet on the ground within 20 feet of it. Any creature in a 20-foot radius, 20-foot high cylinder on that point must succeed on a DC 26 Dex save or take 60-10 bludgeoning damage and fall prone. Until the Colossus uses its Stomp again, that creature is restrained. It's a DC 26 save to break out of it. And then Incinerating Beam. The Colossus fires a beam in a 150-foot line that's 10 feet wide. Each creature in the line must make a DC 26 Dexterity save or take 11d10 radiant damage. Reduced to 0 hit points is disintegrated. Then we have the Warforged Titan. Significantly less. This is only challenge rating 8 and a huge size. 125 hit points, 20 AC, resistance or immunity to poison and psychic, immunity to charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, poison. It has 2 platforms built onto its chassis, so you can shadow the Colossus. This thing, 1 medium or smaller creature can ride on the platform without squeezing. To make a melee attack against the target within 5 feet of the Warforged, they must use spears or longer weapons. Deals double damage to objects and structures. Makes 1 axe hand attack and 1 hammer fist. The axe hand is plus 9 to hit. Reach of 10 feet, 3d8 plus 6 slashing, plus another 2d10 slashing if they're prone. The hammer fist is plus 9 to hit, 10-foot reach, 3d8 plus 6 bludgeoning. Target is creature must succeed on a DC 17 saving throw or be knocked prone. And the sweeping axe, each creature within 10 feet must make a DC 17 dexterity saving throw or take 3d8 plus 6 slashing damage on a failed save and half as much on a success. So that covers all of the monsters. Now we're going to move on to the NPCs. There's not too many here. I think there's only like 7. So we have a Bone Knight. This is absolutely my hands down my favorite prestige class that was in 3.5. For Eberron, I'm actually super upset that it's not a subclass in this book. It's only showed as an NPC. First of all, check out the sweet armor. So anyway, challenge rating 5, 84 hit points, 20 AC with its Bonecraft armor. Wisdom and Charisma saves, resistance to poison and necrotic. As a bonus action, it can target 1 skeleton or zombie within 30 feet to make a DC 14 Wisdom save. On a fail, they must obey the commands. It releases as a bonus action. It can command up to 12 undead at this way. Master of the Pallid Banner. While within 60 feet of the knight, any undead ally has advantage on saving throws against turn undead. It's got some spells. DC 14. First level command, Compel Duel, Hellish Rebuke, Wrathful Smite. Second, Branding Smite, Crown of Madness, Darkness, Fine Seed, Magic Weapon. And it makes 2 attacks with one of its weapons, a Greatsword plus 7 to hit, 2d6 plus 4. And its Longbow plus 4 to hit, 1d8 plus 1. Then I don't really think I need to go over some of these too much. Like, there are just the standard races here, right? So we have Changeling. This is a Changeling, NPC. It is not too... It's interesting that they got rid of Unsettling Visage from the Changeling race, but they gave the Changeling NPC Unsettling Visage, which is each creature within 30 feet must make a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or be frightened for a minute. I don't believe that's how it originally worked for the Changeling, but they added that in here. Otherwise, it's just a standard NPC with nothing too crazy. Again, we have the Kalishtar, which again is a very basic NPC. It does have resistance to psychic damage and advantage on Wisdom saving throws because it is a Kalishtar. And it does have Mind Thrust, which is a little bit different. 1 creature within 30 feet must make a DC 12 Wisdom save or take 2d10 psychic. And then the Mage Right's a little bit different, so I will talk about that. Challenge rating 0, 9 hit points, 11 AC. It does have some spell casting. Mage Hand and Prestidigitation at will. Ritual spell is Knock, which Knock is not normally a ritual. And a Dagger for 1d4 plus 1 damage. So here it just talks a little bit about the Mage Right? A power... far more limited in magical power than a typical spellcaster, a Mage Right is decided to learn a few handful spells, and Mage Rights cast their non-cantrip spells as rituals, hence why Knock is a ritual for this guy, or gal. And then there's a little bit about creating your own Mage Right, what their speciality is, what spells they have, and what proficiencies they may have, which is a cool little table. Then again, we have a standard Shifter NPC, nothing crazy. It can shift to get some temporary hit points, and then make a bite attack. So this is that particular type of Shifter. Challenge rating 0.5. Then we have a Tarkanan Assassin. elite killers and spies of House Tarkanan. Some of them have alternative spells here, right? They do have a couple spells, but they give you some options if you want to change it up. Challenge rating 2, 45 hit points, 15 AC. They have some innate spellcasting here. This one particularly has Firebolt and Chromatic Orb. When the assassin casts an innate spell, each creature within 10 feet must make a DC 12 Wisdom saving throw, take a D8 force damage, or half on a success. Makes 2 short sword attacks for +5 to hit, a D6 +3 piercing, +2d6 poison. It also has Firebolt. Here, 2d10 or Chromatic Orb for 48. And then lastly, we have the Warforged Soldier, which isn't too crazy. It's basically like the other NPCs, but challenge rating 1, 30 hit points, AC 16. It has Warforged Resilience, right? Advantage on saving throws against being poisoned, immunity to disease. Magic can't put it to sleep. Makes 2 arm blade attacks. You can see it's got an arm blade here. It's just a hand with a blade coming out of it. +5 to hit, a D6 +3 slashing. It can throw javelins for a D6 +3. And as reaction, it can do protection. When attacker, the Warforged can see, makes an attack against a creature within 5 feet, it can impose disadvantage on the roll. So it's basically the protection fighting style. And that's it, folks. That's all of the brand new monsters and NPCs contained within Eberron Rising from the Last War. I don't know about you, but I was feeling I wanted more. I didn't really have any good basis to what to base that off of. There was a ton of really high-level creatures, like in the 18, challenge rating 18+, which is good, but I feel like if you're going to go long-term, that's the only way you're going to get to use those. For the most part, most of us aren't going to see a campaign where we're fighting challenge rating 20+ or up to 28, I think we saw here. We're never going to play in a game that's going to last that long. So I would like to see more ground-level monsters. I haven't actually read through the adventure yet. That'll be another video in the future. But I don't know if you're going to get to see too many of those monsters. You may just be rehashing and reusing stuff from the monster manual, which is fine. That's what it's there for. But I would like to see some more unique monsters. Although the ones that are here, I do like them. They do have interesting capabilities. I think a low-level Rakshasa could be fun. The party not expecting it. Or kind of the fallen angel idea. As well as if you're playing an Eberron campaign, the idea of the Quori spirits bonding to people, but some of them give greater powers, but they're kind of more overbearing. I don't know. Nothing really jumped out at me. I like the idea of like Belashira being able to see through people's eyes. I thought that was pretty interesting. 2 more dinosaurs is good for druids and people who can cast summon, any kind of conjure animal spell. And the idea of the Valenar animals, right? These kind of long-living creatures I thought was pretty cool as well. These animals that are now Fey versions of themselves. I thought that was pretty neat. Let me know what your favorite new monster or NPC is in Eberron's, I was going to say Wayfinders, and Eberron's Rising from the Last War in the comments down below. And if you like this video and like Eberron coverage, I'm doing pretty much every new piece in the book. So feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel to catch up on more. I guess ring the notification bell. People say that helps. I don't know. And then I also stream on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and every other Sunday. And I'll also be at PAX Unplugged coming up in a couple weeks now. So if you're going to be there, stop by and say hi. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.